All right, let's take a little trip, just 60 seconds, to our planetary neighbor, Venus. But this is no vacation. We're about to step into a scenario that is as fascinating as it is absolutely terrifying. So let's ask the big question right up front. What would actually happen if you, with zero protection, found yourself standing on the surface of Venus for just one single minute? I'll tell you this, the reality is way more extreme than you can possibly imagine. You know, when you first look at the stats, Venus seems almost friendly. It's often called Earth's twin for a reason. I mean, look at that. They're so similar in size and mass. You can totally see the family resemblance. But this is a classic case of looks being very, very deceiving.
Okay, let's start the clock. The second you arrive, the ordeal begins. We're going to break down this minute of sheer horror, starting with just the first 10 seconds. And the very first thing you'd notice, or actually wouldn't even have time to notice, is the heat.
The average temperature on the surface of Venus is a staggering 900 degrees Fahrenheit or 475 Celsius. And no, that is not a typo. It is hands down the hottest planet in our entire solar system. Yeah, even hotter than Mercury, which is way closer to the sun.
To put that number into perspective for you, just forget about a hot summer day. We are talking about an environment that is hotter than your oven cranked up to its absolute max setting. It's so hot that lead, yeah, the metal, would just melt into a puddle on the ground.
In that kind of heat, the first second is weirdly painless. Why? Because your nerve endings are instantly incinerated. You wouldn't even feel the burn. By the 5-second mark, anything you might be wearing is literally melting. And by 10 seconds, well, let's be real, the heat has already won, long before the other horrors of Venus even get to introduce themselves. So you might be thinking, well, it can't possibly get any worse than that. But oh, you'd be wrong. Let's move into the next 20 seconds of this nightmare, because at the exact same time you're being cooked, you are also being crushed. The atmospheric pressure on the surface of Venus is 92 times greater than what we feel right here on Earth at sea level. Now that number is almost impossible to wrap your head around, so let's try to paint a picture. Okay, imagine diving into the ocean. I don't mean just a little deep, I mean diving nearly a full kilometer down, deep into that crushing dark abyss where sunlight can't even dream of reaching. That is the kind of pressure that's squeezing you from every single direction on Venus. And this is a really important point. It's not like having a heavy rock placed on top of you. No, this is the sheer weight of the super dense air itself, compressing you from all sides at once. Your lungs would collapse in an instant. Your entire body would be subjected to forces it was never, ever designed to handle. We are now entering the final, brutal half of our minute on Venus. Whatever is left of you after the flash frying and the immense pressure now has to face one last gruesome ordeal, the air itself. See, that air is almost entirely carbon dioxide, just a thick, suffocating blanket. But it's that tiny little sliver over there, the one labeled Other, that holds the final horror. Because hidden in that less than 1% are clouds and even rain, made not of water, but of corrosive sulfuric acid. And here we are, the final act. As if being cooked and crushed wasn't enough, the sulfuric acid in the atmosphere would get to work. It would just start to chemically dissolve whatever was left, your skin, your bones, everything. It's a process of complete and total annihilation. And that's it. That's our minute. I think this quote sums it up perfectly. After just 60 seconds, there would be no body to recover. All that would remain is a dark stain on the scorched ground, and even that would be quickly erased by that relentlessly hostile environment. So, why, right? Why is Earth's supposed twin such an absolute nightmare? The story of Venus isn't just some sci-fi horror show. It's a really profound cautionary tale about how a planet so much like our own could end up going so horribly wrong. Well, the culprit has a name. It's called the runaway greenhouse effect. Basically, what happened is that Venus's atmosphere got so thick with heat-trapping gases that it kicked off this vicious cycle. More heat meant more gas got released from the surface, which in turn trapped even more heat. And on it went until the planet's oceans literally boiled away and its surface temperature skyrocketed to what we see today. It really all comes down to the carbon dioxide. Here on Earth, it's just a tiny fraction of our atmosphere, less than 1%. On Venus, it is the atmosphere. That single, dramatic difference is the entire key to understanding why one planet is a paradise and the other is a furnace. So what's the big takeaway from all this? Why does any of this matter to us? Well,
Venus teaches us that a planet's climate is an incredibly fragile thing. It proves that just being in the Goldilocks zone, the just right distance from a star, isn't a guarantee of anything. And most importantly, it serves as this powerful, real-world example of what happens when greenhouse gases run completely out of control.
And that leaves us with a pretty sobering thought. When we look up at our planetary twin, a world that might have, a long time ago, had oceans and a climate a lot like ours, what we're really looking at is a warning sign. It's written across the sky. The only real question left is, are we paying attention?